Hey guys, welcome back. If you recall, we created the stat component in the first 5 episodes of the third person shooter series. So, what I'm going to do now, since we closed off all of the functionality in the restructuring of the animation blueprint, let's migrate the stats components. If you did create it in a separate project, that is, let's migrate it to the third person shooter project. So I'm here in my stat component project. I'm simply going to right click on the folder, hit migrate, and you can see everything here is selected. You can leave it as is, hit OK, and head to your folder where you have your third person unarmed animation locomotion system, and select the content folder, and that's it. Content migration completed successfully. Now we can close that and head to the other your project, your locomotion project. As you can see, we have the stat component here, but nothing is set up. So if you recall, we had a widget called main HUD where it held the two stat bars that we will be using. So the first thing we want to do is open up our third person character, and let's add the stats components. So I'm going to search for BBC stats, and to the right here in the default section in the details panel, I'm going to add a stat. First one is going to be called health. I'm going to add another for stamina. And let's set the base and max value. I'm going to set it to 100. Awesome. Now hit compile, save. Let's see if I did it like this. Okay, no. So, all we need to do let's create a new folder here, and we're going to call this shooter files. Open it up, right click, and we're going to create a new blueprint component, actor component. I'm going to call this BPC shooter. So here is where we will be creating all of our third person shooter logic, at least most of it. So on begin play, we're going to drag off and we're going to say create widget. And we're going to select our main HUD. Now let's create a reference to this, promote this to a variable, and we're going to call this main HUD UI. Drag this here, and we want to drag in our main HUD UI here again. We're going to get it, right click, and convert it to a validated get. And we only want to create this if it's not already created. So if is valid is false, then we create it and store the reference. Then we need to check for one more thing. An extra layer of security. So we're going to drag off here and we're going to say is in viewport. So if it is not in viewport, add a branch. So whether it's valid or not, we need to check if it's in viewport or not. And then only if it's not in the viewport already, then we say add to viewport. I'm going to highlight this and collapse it to a function. I'm going to call this create widgets. We will need to add a few more later on. So I'm simply going to add a sequence here. Actually, no, let's leave it like this for now. Let's see, what else? Let's create a function, and this function is going to be called set input mode, and right click, get player controller. Let's do set input mode, game and UI. Let's do UI. So set input mode to UI only. Let's add a branch here and drag it into the input of the function. And we're going to rename this to be game only. So only if game only is true, then we proceed with a game only. If it's false, then we do UI. We want to lock the cursor in full screen. If you want, you can lock it always. So whatever window you have open, no matter what size it is, it will always lock the cursor within those bounds. Drag it here again, and we're going to say set input mode. And this time we're going to do game only. If required for the game in UI, we will use it later on. So if game only is true, then we set it to game only. If it's false, then we set it to UI. So we can close this and head back to the event graph, and let's do set input mode. Now, if I hit play now, you can see my cursor is here, and I need to click the screen before I can move my camera around. But with this handy dandy function here, if I set it to game only, compile and save, I hit play. Oh yeah, so we have that. So we need to add a component to our character. So let's add BPC shooter. And now if I hit play, you won't need to click the screen. And as you can see, our stat bars are also on screen. Great. In the next one, we're gonna continue by creating all of the classes for our weapons and all of that good stuff. That's it for this one, guys. See you in the next one.